Hello, folks. I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading and speaking about world news, interesting news, news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. Everything I have will be in my description box if you want to go back to it later or read the whole article. And the first one I got for you today is from Fox News. Biden flirts with crossing ethical lines and talking about DOJ's Hunter investigation, expert says.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong.
First on Fox, ethics experts tell Fox News Digital that President Biden is flirting with crossing ethical lines in talking about the Department of Justice's, DOJ, investigation into his son, Hunter Biden. Fox News Digital reached out to several ethics experts to weigh in on the president proclaiming his son's innocence as Hunter faces down potential DOJ charges. Cully Stimson, a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation, told Fox News Digital that like most fathers, President Biden is going to defend his son. However, as the President of the United States, Biden knows, or should know, that it is entirely inappropriate for him to weigh in on an ongoing federal investigation of a suspect because as the chief law enforcement officer of the United States, and the person assigned the pardon power under the Constitution, he should not prejudge any federal case until the case has come to its natural conclusion, Stimson said. Mike Chamberlain, director of Protect the Public's Trust, PPT, told Fox News Digital there is a reason that officials, including the president in past occasions, normally refuse to comment on ongoing investigations.
And you can read the rest of that in my description box. I got a lot going on the news here, so I'm going to be cutting everything a little bit short. And Biden has the right to try to defend his son, but he doesn't have the right to say his son is not guilty because he's the president. No, his son should face the law like everybody else. If it was anybody else, they would go straight to prison. Yeah. Hunter should not get any special privileges because his father is the president, or they say he's the president. Let me go on to the next one. Okay, this is from Antella News. Belarus, can't say her name, struck down by mystery illness in Moscow, rushed back to Belarus.
I know you told your friend you're not okay.
Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko appears to have been struck down by a mystery illness and was rushed back to Belarus shortly after attending the May 9th Victory Day celebrations on Red Square in Moscow. The Belarusian strongman, who was one of the few foreign dignitaries to attend the 78th celebration of the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany, skipped the traditional formal guest breakfast on the day of the parade and was rushed to the airport to fly home as soon as the parade was over. Belarusian media also reported that Lukashenko chose not to walk with Russian President Vladimir Putin and other visiting heads of state to the Flame of Unknown Soldier monument, that is just outside the Kremlin walls, the traditional last part of the May 9th celebration. Instead, he was driven to the memorial in an electric cart, despite the distance being only about 300 meters, Meduza reports. One outlet speculated that a bandage was visible on Lukashenko's hand during the parade and might have held an IV catheter.
And there's more to read on that. He's 68 years old. Let me go to the next one here. Okay, there's one from Alternet. The debt ceiling debate is a massive deception against the public.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong.
Future historians will likely look back at the debt ceiling rituals being reenacted these days with a frustrated shaking of their heads. That otherwise reasonable people would be so readily deceived raises the question that will provoke those historians: how could this happen?
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you not.
The U.S. Congress has imposed successive ceilings on the national debt, each one higher than the last. Ceilings were intended to limit the amount of federal borrowing. But the same U.S. Congress so managed its taxing and spending that it created ever more excesses of spending over tax revenues, deficits. Those excesses required borrowing to cover them. The borrowings accumulated to hit successive ceilings. A highly political ritual of threats and counter-threats accompanied each rise of the ceiling required by the need to borrow to finance deficits. It is elementary economics to note that if Congress raised more taxes or cut federal spending, or both, there would be no need to borrow and thus no ceiling on borrowing to worry about. The ceiling would become irrelevant or merely symbolic. Further, if taxes were raised enough and spending cut enough, the existing U.S. national debt could be reduced. That situation has happened occasionally in U.S. history.
Okay, I'm stopping right there. You hear that, Biden? Spending cut. Then we won't be, in this predicament. Okay. Let me go to the next one here. You can read the rest of that in my description box. Biden just pisses me off. Okay, here's from 1945. Joe Biden has just made a mistake, like always.
Joe Biden needs to campaign if he wants to win in 2024. What is he doing? If Joe Biden's strategy is keeping low and out of the line of fire to win a second term the way he won a first term by sitting on the sidelines sniping at Donald Trump in 2020, he will need to do better. So far, that seems to be the strategy for the Biden campaign. Unlike in 2020, Biden has a governing record to defend in 2024. And if Biden's cognitive issues become more pronounced, he could give Trump a handhold to remind voters of how they were better off when he was president. Will Joe Biden campaign? Biden seems to be living up to Trump's nickname of Sleepy Joe, given due to the then vice president's seeming lack of a vigorous campaign schedule. Joe Concha reports at The Hill that Biden works a 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. schedule. But the president's campaign, if it can be called that, appears to be banking on the same strategy it used in 2020, lay low. Take Biden off the radar and allow Donald Trump's various antics and legal troubles be the media's focus. If Biden held a rally or a major news conference, that would put him back front and center, which seems to be the last thing his campaign wants, Concha wrote. He never holds events before 10 a.m. He has spent 13 full weekends at his Delaware home. No major press conferences are upcoming. He has had the least number of press conferences of any president in the past 40 years. He has held 21 press conferences in his first 27 months in office. Barack Obama held 53 in the same time period. This might not work. He may have a harder time hiding his aloofness this time around, particularly now that mainstream reporters openly are talking about it. Last Friday, CNN, a usual stalwart for pro-Democratic Party coverage, reported that the president confused a scheduled interview with a major press conference. "We've got a lot of work to do and I'm doing a major press conference this afternoon, but I love y'all, but I'd like to ask you to leave so we can get down to business," Biden said as he was leaving a press availability in the Roosevelt Room at the White House. Biden support weakens. Democrats seem to be waking up to the fact their candidate may not be up to the office he currently holds. The president's aloofness and frequent misstatements have many Democrats wishing he had chosen retirement over running for a second term. Only 37% approved of his job performance in the latest Gallup poll. The Biden team is confident that voters do not notice the president's foibles of age. They are banking on the voters preferring what he stands for to that of Trump and the Republicans.
Okay, you can read the rest of that in my description box if you like. I think he's just waiting to see, how these polls are going, and then if you don't have a high poll, he'll just go ahead and retire. That's my thought. Okay, let me go to the next one here now. This from the Washington Examiner. Hunter Biden's ex-business partner calls on appeals court to let him off hook.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong.
A longtime friend and former business partner of Hunter Biden tried to convince an appeals court to help toss his fraud conviction on Tuesday as a separate federal investigation into the taxes and business dealings of President Joe Biden's son continues. Devin Archer, who worked with Hunter Biden for the Rosemont Seneca Partners investment firm prior to both men joining the board of Ukrainian energy giant Burisma in 2014, was convicted in 2018 in connection with a fraudulent bond scheme aimed at swindling a Native American tribe, and he was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in prison in February 2022.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you.
Archer, who was also ordered by a Manhattan federal judge last year to forfeit more than $15.7 million and to join his co-defendants in paying $43.4 million in restitution to the victims of the fraud, appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, and a trio of circuit judges heard his argument Tuesday morning. Judge Richard Sullivan, who was appointed to the appeals court by former President Donald Trump in 2018, and Judge Myrna Perez, who was appointed to the court by Joe Biden in 2021, heard the appeal in person from Archer's lawyer Matthew Schwartz, while Judge William Nardini, who was appointed by Trump in 2019, listened in remotely. Samuel Rothschild, an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, told the three judges that the lower court's decision should be upheld. The 2022 ruling, which was far less than what prosecutors wanted, came from Manhattan Judge Ronnie Abrams, who reportedly said the crime was too serious to allow Archer to dodge prison, arguing that there's no dispute about the harm caused to real people. Archer's lawyer Schwartz tried to argue Tuesday that Abrams had misapprehended her role as a judge when she held Archer responsible for the effects of the fraud, including producing massive losses and harming victims. Sullivan replied that, "It's not clear to me that the district judge had misused her role at all."
Okay, you're going to read the rest of that in my description box. Yeah, any crook will say, "Oh, I didn't do it." Let me go to my next one here. Okay, this is from Desert News. Tucker Carlson is going to Twitter.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way.
After 8 days of speculation about his post-Fox News future, Tucker Carlson announced Tuesday that he's taking his audience to Twitter. Amazingly, as of tonight, there aren't many platforms left that allow free speech. The last big one remaining in the world, the only one, is Twitter, where we are now, Carlson said in a 3-minute video. Calling Twitter the place where our national conversation incubates and develops, Carlson said he'd soon bring a new version of his Fox show to Twitter. "We'll bring some other things, too, which we'll tell you about it," he added. He gave no other information, but others are reporting that Carlson is giving up $25 million owed to him by Fox by violating a non-compete clause. The announcement was cheered by conservatives on Twitter, including Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire, who recently took his podcast to Twitter and said, "Forget YouTube. This is the free speech platform." One person heralded the move as a seismic shift in how Americans consume media. But others said that Carlson's move made Twitter even more inhospitable to people concerned about what they perceive as a right-leaning tilt. "Twitter is becoming the go-to platform tolerant of and incentivizing hyperpartisan rhetoric," wrote civil rights attorney Nora Binovides. With nearly 7 million followers, Carlson already has a larger audience than he had on Fox, where he regularly had more than 3 million viewers. Since his departure from Fox, he has gained nearly 1 million new Twitter followers.
Okay, and there's more to read on that in my description box if you'd like to read more about it. And you can go to Twitter. There's a Twitter thing right here too. Watch on Twitter. Anyway, I'm going to the next one here. This from Fox News. Notice of violation sent to New York hotel seemingly prepared to receive influx of immigrants.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what.
As New York City Mayor Eric Adams announced plans on Friday to bus over 300 willing migrants to the state's local suburbs, leaders in Rockland County said hotels are not equipped to handle the sudden influx of migrants. As Title 42 is set to expire on Thursday, the town of Orangetown in the county is pushing back on Adams's plan to transport single, adult male migrants to NYC suburbs, issuing a 30-day state of emergency that prohibits other municipalities from sending migrants to the county. The town of Orangetown and Rockland County are small localities that are not equipped to handle this sudden increase in the need for services, Orangetown Supervisor Teresa Kenny wrote in a Facebook post Friday. "I agree that this calls for a federal, not a local solution. The people that NYC is sending to Orangetown have been failed first by the federal government, which has not adequately addressed immigration issues, and now by the city of New York, which had let people know that they would take them in as a sanctuary city," she added. To send these people to a location that is not equipped to meet their needs is a betrayal of that often expressed desire by NYC to be a sanctuary for them.
Well, I said keep sending them to... Anyway, you're going to read the rest of this in my description box. I say just send them, to New York, Chicago, Maryland, especially Maryland, and let them deal with them, These southern borders, they're being overwhelmed. Let me go to the next one here. This from CBS News. Lawsuit filed against Yellen, calling debt limit law unconstitutional.
Attorneys representing a federal government employees union sued Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen over the constitutionality of the debt limit, which caps the amount the federal government can borrow to pay for congressionally approved spending. The move comes amid tense negotiations over raising the debt ceiling as the administration counts down to when it will no longer be able to pay the nation's bills, known as the X date. Those bills include those due on the country's debt, and default on the public debt could have disastrous consequences for the national economy and financial system, experts warn. The National Association of Government Employees, which represents nearly 75,000 employees working in agencies across the federal government, is seeking an injunction that would prevent the Biden administration from suspending operations of the federal government because it has reached the debt limit and an order declaring the statute unconstitutional and unenforceable. This litigation is both an effort to protect our members from illegal furloughs and to correct an unconstitutional statute that frequently creates uncertainty and anxiety for millions of Americans, the union's national president David Hollway said about the suit filed Monday. The debt ceiling has become a political football for certain members of Congress. If Congress will not raise the debt limit as it has nearly 80 times before without condition, it leaves no constitutional choice for the president. House Republicans, who want to slash spending in exchange for raising the debt limit, and Democrats, who want the debt limit raised without conditions, have made little progress in negotiating an agreement.
Okay, you can read the rest of that in my description box. And I will the next one here. This from As USA. Complete list of Walmart supermarkets that will close in 2023 by state.
I know you told your friend you're not okay.
Many companies have aggressively hired workers over the past 2 years as incomes rose and demand soared to new highs. However, with inflation cutting into purchasing power, general uncertainty in the market, and the Federal Reserve moving up interest rates, some stock prices are starting to fall. While 2022 saw the second largest increase in new jobs in the history of the country, 2023 could tell a completely different story. The initial response to these ever-evolving economic conditions from the tech sector was mass layoffs. Now, the world's largest employer, Walmart, will follow suit by closing down various locations to cut costs and improve its financial performance. Complete list of Walmart supermarkets that will close in 2023 in each state. According to a statement issued by the company, the locations that close are those that have had a lower-than-expected performance. The multinational warehouse corporation did not provide further details. States affected by this decision include Arkansas, Georgia, Florida, Hawaii, Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota, New Mexico, Oregon, Texas, Washington, Wisconsin, and the District of Columbia. Below is the complete list with the branches that close in each of the mentioned states. Arkansas. 3701 Southeast Dodson Road, Bentonville, pickup concept only. D.C. 99 H Street NW, Washington. Georgia. 1801 Howell Mill Road Northwest, Atlanta. 835 MLK Jr. Drive NW, Atlanta. Florida. 6900 U.S. Highway 19 North, Pinellas Park. Hawaii. 1032 Fort Street Mall, Honolulu. Illinois. 17550 South Halsted Street, Homewood. 12690 South Route 59, Plainfield. 840 North McCormick Boulevard, Lincolnwood, pickup concept only. 1511 Camp Jackson Road, Cahokia. 8431 South Stewart Avenue, Chicago. 4720 South Cottage Grove Avenue, Chicago. 2844 N, Broadway, Chicago. 2551 West Cermak Road, Chicago. Indiana. 3701 Portage Road, South Bend. Minnesota. 1200 Shingle Creek Parkway, Brooklyn Center. New Mexico. 301 San Mateo Boulevard Southeast, Albuquerque. Oregon. 4282nd Avenue Southeast, Portland. 1123 North Hayden Meadows Drive, Portland. Texas. 24919 Westheimer Parkway, Katy. Washington. 11400 Highway 99, Everett. Wisconsin. 10330 West Silver Spring Drive, Milwaukee.
And see the statistics here for companies rated by number of employees. Walmart got 2,300,000. Amazon 1,541,000. Foxconn 826,000. Center 738,000. Volkswagen 645,868. Tata Consultancy, whatever, 616,171. Duchesne Post 583,816. United Parcel Service, 500,000. And then if you want to read more, you got to go into Twitter. And that's all I got on that one there. What I don't understand is, well, they're closing the store over Keokee, Illinois. Meyer store is opening up 2 of them in Illinois. Outside Keokee is outside St. Louis, and open up 2 more stores in Illinois outside St. Louis. One in Glen Carbon, and the other one is, I forgot where the other one is, but anyway, just outside of St. Louis. We'll see how those stores go. And let me go to the next one here now. This from Fox News. Biden forced to either use border wall materials or transfer them to states under the GOP bill.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way.
Senate Republicans introduced a bill Tuesday that would require the Department of Defense to either use the available materials it has to keep building the southwest border wall or transfer those materials to states so that they can do the work. In 2021, the Biden administration decided to stop all border wall construction, a decision that is costing $130,000 per day or roughly $50 million per year to store the unused materials, according to information provided by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to Republican members of the Senate Armed Forces Committee.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong.
The Finish It Act, introduced by Senators Roger Wicker, Republican Mississippi, Ted Cruz, Republican Texas, and Joni Ernst, Republican Iowa, requires the Secretary of Defense to submit a plan to Congress for using, transferring, or donating these materials, for the express purpose of constructing a permanent physical barrier to stop illicit human and vehicle traffic along the border of the United States with Mexico. The bill also puts pressure on states to use the materials to keep building the wall, by requiring them to pay back the cost of these goods if they are not used within 2 years. Wicker said the bill is necessary to ensure either the Biden administration or the states finally take steps to secure the border. President Biden could not have created a worse border crisis if he tried, but he continues to stand in the way of a solution, Wicker told Fox News Digital. It is time for the president to put these materials to use and finish the wall.
Okay, and there's more to read on that if you want to read it. See, the reason we're hurting from the United States hurting for money because Biden is giving away money like it was growing on trees, and then the storage of the walls that's not doing anything. It costs $130,000 per day, or roughly $50 million per year to store. You know, that's a waste of money. Biden, wasteful. Biden's so wasteful. Let me go to the next one here. This is political. Medicaid for undocumented immigrants. It's Democrats who aren't sure.
I know you told your friend you're not.
Undocumented immigrants are facing one major roadblock to health coverage in blue states, Democrats. Nearly a dozen Democratic state lawmakers and immigration advocates told Politico that while their legislatures support the concept of offering coverage to low-income undocumented immigrants, they remain wary of committing the money. Their frustrations exemplify why progressive efforts to expand Medicaid are foundering in many parts of the country. With just a few weeks left in their sessions, lawmakers in Connecticut, Minnesota, and Nevada are debating how far to go to extend coverage or whether to do it at all. Similar efforts in Maryland and New York have already failed this year. It frustrates me because it's not based on any kind of policy decision other than dollars, said Connecticut State Representative Jillian Gilchrist, a Democrat who is spearheading a bill to expand Medicaid to all undocumented kids this year. The budget document outlines your priorities as a state. As we're looking at all the various things we need to fund, this should be top of mind. The intra-party debate comes as the Biden administration and Democrats at the national level grapple with how to expand healthcare access for non-citizens, who make up just 6% of the U.S. population but 23% of the uninsured, in a divided Congress. Hopes of a public health insurance option, a hallmark of Biden's presidential campaign, were dashed during debates over what became the Inflation Reduction Act. Instead, House Republicans just passed legislation that would add work requirements to Medicaid, a move that could leave an additional 600,000 Americans uninsured, according to the Congressional Budget Office. Against that federal backdrop, progressive state lawmakers are trying to take up the mantle, using their own dollars to push policies for undocumented immigrants that were until recently outside mainstream Democratic thinking and inch toward universal coverage. The idea that healthcare is something everybody should have access to has shifted in the last decade or so, said Kelly Wagner, an associate professor at the Georgetown University McCourt School of Public Policy's Center for Children and Families. How to get there is the hard part, and I think the cost barrier is a real one. In Nevada, Democrats have slashed a $300 million proposal to expand Medicaid to all undocumented immigrants to a $90 million policy that would cover those up to age 26, with further cuts on the table. Even if legislators can agree on the price tag, Republican Governor Joe Lombardo has not said whether he will sign it into law.
Okay, that's all I'm going to play on that one there. You know, they want to give health insurance to immigrants. There's a lot of Americans that can't afford health insurance. They're not helping them. I think a lot of Americans should just go over to across the border and then come back as an immigrant. That's what I think. Let me go to the next one. This country's pissing me off. Okay, this is from Washington Examiner. Hunter Biden investigation. GOP releases interim report of intelligence community's laptop letter.
Congressional Republicans released an interim report Wednesday accusing intelligence officials of embarking on a political operation to help elect Vice President Biden in the 2020 election. The 64-page report outlines information congressional Republicans have gathered about the letter signed by 51 former intelligence officials to cast doubt on the authenticity of the Hunter Biden laptop in the run-up to the 2020 election. The report is titled The Hunter Biden Statement: How Senior Intelligence Community Officials and the Biden Campaign Worked to Mislead American Voters. It was authored by members of the GOP-led Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government and the House Intelligence Committee. Chief among the new revelations is a claim from David Carians, a former intelligence analyst for the CIA, that he only signed on to the letter after a member of the CIA's Pre-Publication Classification Review Board asked him to.
Okay, and there's more to read on that. That's all I'm going to play on that one there. Let's go to the next one here. This one here from Metro. Wagner Group to be officially named as terrorist organization like ISIS.
I know you told your friend you're not okay.
The UK is set to make Russia's mercenary Wagner Group a proscribed terrorist organization, it is understood. A government source said the move was imminent and likely to be enacted within weeks after 2 months spent building a legal case, according to the Times. Proscription would make it a criminal offense to join Wagner, encourage support for it, display its logo in public or attend its meetings. Among other organizations on the government's proscribed list are the Islamic State, Al-Qaeda and neo-Nazi group National Action. It comes as labor demanded ministers formally label the Wagner Group a terror outfit after accusing it of committing appalling atrocities. Full screen. One of 5 photos in gallery copyright. The Wagner Group, led by warlord Yevgeny Prigozhin and made up of contractors and recruited convicts, has been fighting alongside Russian armed forces in areas of eastern Ukraine. It has been heavily involved in the city of Bakhmut, where the longest, and likely bloodiest, battle of the war has taken place. Earlier on Tuesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin used Moscow's Victory Day parade to accuse the West of unleashing a real war on the country with its untamed ambitions.
Okay, and if you want to read the rest of that, this description will be in my description box, the link. Let me go to the next one here. This one here from Newsweek. Mysterious red crosses appearing on Moscow streets. This is from Ukrainian media.
I know you told your friend you're not okay.
Social media users and news outlets in Ukraine have reported on red crosses that they say have mysteriously appeared on some streets in Moscow and speculated as to what they might mean. The markings on roads in the Russian capital spurred some theories that they could be targets for drone or missile attacks ahead of Tuesday's parade in Red Square marking Victory Day, which commemorates the Soviet role in the defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945. In Moscow, people are going crazy because of the red crosses that have appeared around the city, wrote Ukrainian journalist Andrei Tsaplienko on his Telegram channel on Monday, suggesting the crosses may have been an attempt to troll Russians. Apparently, they fear these may be markers for airstrikes on May 9th. Tsaplienko was just one social media user who shared images of the markings which appeared amid security concerns about the May 9th events. Reports of the crosses came mostly from Ukrainian journalists or social media. The existence of the crosses has not been independently confirmed and the photos have not been independently verified. The Russian government or official media have not commented on the reports. Newsweek has contacted the Russian Defense Ministry for comment. May 9th is a sacred date for Russians and Kremlin criminal Vladimir Putin, reported online.ua, a Russian-language Ukrainian media outlet, which noted how parades in cities across Russia had been cancelled due to security concerns. Photos of red marks near the Ministry of Defense building, it added, probably, such marks indicate places for strikes by missiles and UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles.
Okay, and there's more to read on that if you want to read it. It says, in Moscow, unknown Red Crosses started to appear on the streets on the evening before 9th May. Inhabitants of Moscow speculate on social media that this could be, let me see.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too.
Well, I can't see no red crosses. Oh yeah, I see one right here. And that might be one there. To me, that would mean no parking. I don't see none of that one. I don't see one on that one unless I'm missing it. Anyway, you can read the rest of that in my description box. We'll go to the next one. This one here is from Fox News. Texas ranchers sound alarm on border crisis after immigrants destroy property. The government doesn't care. Government never cares.
2 Texas ranchers are sounding the alarm about the impact the border crisis has had on them after groups of migrants allegedly walked through and destroyed their property. Marcus and Stephanie Canales, who live 56 miles from the Laredo border, said they have seen the impact of President Biden's border policies firsthand. What we're seeing on our property, we're getting the bailouts, we're getting the getaways, the unknowns. We're also getting all of the foot traffic, Marcus explained on Fox News Tonight. I mean, just last night we had about 3 groups of 10 plus that moved through anywhere from 1 in the morning to 4. We had some during the day. It's just non-stop traffic around here. Stephanie Canales added that they've had groups as large as 30 migrants come through their property. You know, when you're out in a pasture by yourself, you may have a gun on you, which we do. But, you know, if 30 people approach you, you're in trouble. And that's what's scary, she said. Border Patrol clears way for more migrant releases to city streets, sources say. The dam is about to break. Border crossings have escalated in recent weeks and migrants have been gathering by the thousands near different sections of the border wall, including in El Paso, as they wait for Title 42 to expire on Thursday. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas pleaded with migrants not to illegally enter the U.S., saying the border is not open. It has not been open, and it will not be open subsequent to May 11th. And the smugglers who exploit vulnerable migrants are spreading misinformation. They are spreading false information, lies in a way to lure vulnerable people to the southern border, and those individuals will only be returned, he said at a press conference in Brownsville, Texas, last week. Marcus Canales told guest host Kayleigh McEnany they have faced a constant battle to repair and mend the fences destroyed by migrants in order to keep their cattle in. You know, one of our parcels here or pieces of property, you know, it's on one of the major highways for all field traffic. So a lot of 18-wheelers, you know. We have to keep our cattle safe and off the highway. And so when we do get a bailout and we're called, you know, by Border Patrol or DPS. You know, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and it's during the day, whatever you're doing, you pretty much stop what you're doing to, you know, make sure the fence is mended to where it'll keep our cattle in, he explained.
You know, they keep saying, you know. Anyway, there's more to read on here if you want to read the rest of it. You know, one time I drove a truck and I drove southern Texas a lot, and I seen a lot of ranches for sale, and I thought about buying one. Glad I didn't now, because if I see 30 migrants walking toward me 1 to 4 in the morning, I ain't gonna stop and ask questions first. Okay, let me go to my last one now. Okay, this from the Washington Post. Representative George Santos charged with 13 counts of fraud, financial crimes.
I know you told your friend you're not Tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray.
Representative George Santos, the freshman Republican congressman whose myriad falsehoods became both a scandal and a national punchline, was charged with a host of financial crimes in court papers unsealed Wednesday. Santos, 34, surrendered to federal authorities in the morning and is expected to appear in a federal courthouse in Central Islip, on Long Island, later Wednesday. The congressman and his lawyer did not respond to messages seeking comment. Santos stands accused of deceiving prospective donors to his campaign and defrauding the state of New York, as well as making false statements to the House Committee on Ethics. He faces 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, 1 count of theft of public funds, and 2 counts of lying to the House of Representatives on financial forms. Details of his dealings with would-be donors and false statements on his ethics disclosures have been revealed in earlier reporting. But the indictment is unemployment through the following spring, receiving more than $24,000 from the state. During that time, he was employed as a regional director for a Florida investment firm. That firm goes unnamed in the indictment, but
Okay, my browser jumping around here, so I'm going to stop it there. And it's getting late anyway. And there's more to read on that if you want to read the rest of it. Let's see. I think they said something like he scammed Medicare or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I forget. I know, but I forget. Anyway, that's all I got for you right now. Remember, I am out of today's news. I will be reading, speaking about world news, interesting news, news that keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, at least come back once in a while. I thank you for watching. Until next time.